We're live. Yeah.
Welcome to our friends and followers watching live on Facebook via Zoom. We are Bishop Brothers, and this is your safe place where we discuss current events from a biblical perspective based on our life experiences. He is John, I am Aaron. He's a chief, I'm a chief. He is blood washed, I am blood washed. He is a bishop, I am a bishop. But most importantly, we are brothers. Engage in the conversation. Invite a friend to like our page. Welcome aboard. This is Bishop Brothers. Here live.
Gonna be a good one. Gonna be a good one.
I hope y'all ready.
Hope
y'all ready because we here live. All right, amen.
Like we say in the Navy, we hope you brought your big people pants.
Oh yeah.
Be serious.
We're thankful. We're thankful we have on the show with us tonight joining Bishop Brothers, none other than Chantelle Stokes. Memphis, Tennessee, live. She's with us. She's live. The therapist in the house, John. Yes. Expertise in the house, and we thank God for this conversation. And we thank God for you, Chantelle, for joining us and to have a needed conversation, a conversation that's needed, that the church needs to hear, that the body needs to hear, because I tell you, we're talking about an issue that's really affect the lives of all of us. And that's trauma, mental illness, all these things we talk about. So I'm just gonna let you open up and get us started. And if you got any questions, please join us. We're on Bishop Brothers Live. Please join us. She's here answering any question that you have. We're here to lead the conversation. I got some good stuff. I know John's got some good stuff. So just open us up with whatever you have for us to begin this awesome episode that we have.
Well, the first thing I most definitely want to say is kind of a follow-up on a post that I put on a couple of weeks ago, and people probably really didn't understand it, or it probably totally went over people's heads, but I put on there that the church is a hospital, and it's flu season every day.
Yeah.
So that went over people's heads, so I'll go ahead and tell you what I meant when I said that. Some of the sickest people are in church. Every day, every week, for every event, for everything that's happening, and they are not getting better. And that should be concerning to not only the members but to the leaders. Yes. Because if it is my godly duty to help you get better, which is what most pastors and leaders preach to you over the pulpit, that I'm responsible for your soul, that I'm responsible for you. But you're also responsible for that person's mental stability and wellness as well, because that is the whole person, the total person. So, if I've been a member of your church for 25, 30 years and nothing about my life is in order, intact, there has been absolutely no change in me, I would like for you to be concerned about that. But the real issue today is the reason why most pastors and leaders don't want to refer their members out to a licensed therapist or a counselor or to a mental health center is because the reality is, I want your money to stay here in the church.
Yes.
You don't have to go and pay Chantelle, her exorbitant amount of fees to tell you something where I can help you. And that's not always necessarily true. I mean, I need pastors and leaders to take their egos out of the situation and send their members who are dying right in front of them every week to someone who can provide them with the services that are needed. It's nothing personal if your member goes and sees a therapist. no more than it's not personal if your member goes to see the cardiologist or the oncologist, or their primary care physician. It's no different. You cannot provide those services to the member just like you cannot provide real in-depth psychiatric care to your member. So that's what I want to start with. Let your ego go and send
Mm.
those people out to someone who can help them so they can get better, so they can be more prosperous in all facets, not just financially, but I'm talking about emotionally and spiritually as well. Stop focusing on the point that, you need to pay your tithes, you need to pay your offerings, love day, pastor day, anniversary, first lady day, all that. Scrap all that.
Mhm.
Put together a fund for people who don't have insurance, who need psychiatric care, who
Mm.
can afford the medication, who can afford to see a private pay therapist. Put
Mhm.
some real money into things that really will benefit your members. And so
Yeah.
um, I'm ready for the attack. Let's go.
Well, I'm sure it'll happen eventually. Trust me. I do have a question for you. So, I would say I probably up here in the Seattle area, I kind of live in a bubble up here, right? And
Okay.
what I mean by that is, in churches in this area, uh, mental health therapy, things like that. Um, it's not considered that big of a deal here if you
Mm,
go do that outside of your church community. But being from the South, being from Texas,
mm-hmm.
I specifically remember times in church where pastors would literally say, if you go seek a therapist, then you don't trust God. And
Yeah.
I think what irritates me about that is we're now putting mental health and the church at opposite ends of the spectrum fighting each other.
Competition.
And exactly, now we're competing, which is completely, one, in my opinion, it's completely unnecessary. And two, I think what it boils down to is we have pastors that are jealous.
Mm,
I,
yes.
I don't have another way to say that. I think there are pastors that are really jealous and they feel like they're losing control. They feel this need to control their congregation,
Yes.
and they put therapy at odds because they know that they're going to have to surrender some of their quote unquote control, for that person to receive that help. I was just curious, is that something that you deal with where you're at, or do you see it more like a regional thing, or are we seeing it everywhere?
Oh, most definitely being down in the deep south, whenever someone comes to me and they may mention something that they heard through the pastor, or something at church, I always say, well, I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to go against what someone has already told you.
Mm-hmm.
But they keep on talking. They keep on talking about whatever, so much unhealthiness, so much inappropriateness. And most of the time, the reality is they don't tell the church leaders the magnitude of the issue that is bringing them to therapy. For instance, of abusive relationships. You know, I think it's difficult, honestly, for someone who's in the church to say that the person that I bring to church with me every Sunday, Wednesday, whatever, we fight
Mm-hmm.
violently. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you that, we're not communicating, that we don't know how to spend time with one another, that certain things are missing out of relationship because, I know if I tell the pastor, that we are physically fighting,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to put some Bible verses on me.
Okay.
And Bible verses are not going to stop domestic violence. I'm sorry. It's just
Right.
not.
Mhm.
And in some
It's just,
cases, I think they exacerbate it. They make it worse
hmm hmm
because it's used as
oh,
a
yeah.
weapon.
Oh yeah, especially if you're telling a woman that's being abused by her husband to submit to your husband, and
Mm.
your body belongs to your husband, and
Mm.
things like that. So that's very conflictual. Certainly a therapist would not tell you that if someone is knocking you upside your head, go in there and start cooking more, go in there and start
Mm.
cleaning more,
Yeah.
do this more, and the Bible said this and the Bible said that, so I think we got to be very careful of the verbiage and the language that we are
Yes.
presenting to people when they are coming to leaders and pastors with
Yeah.
certain issues. I say, if you don't know how to respond to a domestic violence situation, be honest and say, well, I heard something and I saw something once where they said to call this number or to do this and do that. Don't sit there for 3, 4, 5 hours and quote scriptures and pray and let's put some oil on you and let's go to the altar and do all of these things, which there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when you're done with that and they're out there fighting in the parking lot, then what?
Right.
Okay?
And I think what I've seen is, and I want to touch on something that you brought up. You said that, a therapist's never going to tell you to go, make a meal for someone who's slapping you upside the head. Let me tell you, let me tell everyone who's watching this, if your pastor tells you to do that, run. Run. Don't walk. Get out of that church. Okay.
Right.
So you also brought up another amazing point. The attitude that a woman's body belongs to their husband. That is not true.
That is keeping so many women sick and in bondage.
Yes. And let me tell you something, that's heresy. That's heresy. That's not scriptural. Again, if your pastor is telling you that, run. You need to get out of there.
Don't walk.
So run.
Let me touch an issue that a lot of these that we deal with, particularly in the Black church. In the Black church, here's what we've lost. And I'm going to be on your pastors and leaders. I don't care. I do not care. I've seen destroy lives. Here's what you do. Just like Dr. Chantelle says, okay, the person, your member, God put you over. They come to you. Confidentiality with see, this is what I learned when I was a chaplain assistant in the military. I was virtually put in a position of being a chaplain, and the first thing they teach you is confidentiality.
Right.
Let me tell you something, pastor, leaders. Hey, the reason why the church people don't trust you is because you're too immature. What you do, you'll sit up there and talk to them about the private issues. Then you'll read your little Bible and go up there on Sunday morning with your sanctified Holy Ghost filled self and preach their issue over the pulpit.
You've been over here looking at my journal. What I'm going to talk about?
This John is heresy.
That is heresy.
And therefore, now guess what? I'm never going to tell you I'm not going to tell you if I'm being traumatized. I'm not going to tell you if I'm struggling. Y'all ain't got nobody. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going through, because you know what? You're going to preach it because you're so juvenile. And then you're gonna sit up here and lie and talk about. Hold on. You're gonna sit up here and lie and talk about the Holy Ghost gave you that. That's a lie from the pit of hell.
Jesus told me.
This is a grown folks show tonight. If somebody tell you about counseling, whether they're going through a marriage, and you say one word over any kind of pulpit, you in heresy. You're not full of the Holy Spirit. You're not anointed. You're just an immature hireling, a sellout, or you're a wolf in sheep clothing, because you don't have the ability. And this is why, Chantelle, is that the people, and that's why they say don't go to therapy, because we don't understand in the body of Christ what a word called confidentiality. When people tell you something in a therapeutic situation, when people tell you something in confidence, you're supposed to keep your mouth shut and deal with them, and don't preach on them. Make sure you don't preach over. So some of you talking about you don't need notes, preacher. Yes, you do need some notes to keep your butt disciplined and in order, so you won't get caught up in your emotion. And then you say you a man of God, and you're preaching people's issues on the pulpit, and then you wonder why you don't know what's going on. You wonder why you don't know your parents. You wonder why. A lot of times, even before they get to, we don't have no confidence, no trust. So people, don't get it twisted. People love the church. Jesus said, "On this rock I build my church." It's the people in the church that's destroyed the church. It's the people in the church. And as we said earlier, the community don't trust you no more, because you can't be trusted. Because if I come tell you, if I was molested when I was a 5-year-old girl, you're going to preach a sermon on it and try to pray it out of me on the altar. You can't pray molestation out of me. You can't play trauma. You need to help me through the process and put people around my love and keep it calm, and then lead me to therapy to get some help. But you don't want to lead me to therapy because you want to see, and I'll let you see. Let me tell you something. Dysfunction. Some people love dysfunction. Some people love to keep you that way. You know why? Because they control
you with dysfunction. Yes.
But you are no preacher. I don't care who you call. If you preach people's business,
Yep.
over the pulpit, you are not preaching the will of God, and that is heresy. You are a sinner, and you just nothing but a harlot and a wolf in sheep clothing. And this is why people don't trust you. And you know who you are, and man and woman of God, a person of God. If you've been done this, run from that church. If your pastor preaches your business over the pulpit, why are you there?
Yep.
Why?
Right.
Yes,
That's right.
yes. That is something that I was going to discuss actually during the conference for Houston. That is one of my topics. You know, preaching people's problems from the pulpit. That is one reason why people will sit in their mess for so long, because, like I said, if I'm telling you that I'm involved in a situation with my husband, a boyfriend, baby daddy, or whatever, and then, you know, that Sunday you start saying something about, oh, you young, aggressive, professional women don't know how to keep a man because blah, 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 blah. You know, you're talking directly to me, especially if I'm telling you that we're having conflict about certain things. So now, not only have you made me feel guilty, you have described me to a T. So people know that it's me. Okay.
Right.
But what can I do? Do I run from the church in shame, or do I continue to sit here every Sunday and let you fix me? You know, although you have just reviolated me. And the thing that I don't like about that is when you preach people's problems across the pulpit, you're making the guilty party or the person who is chaotic and dysfunctional, you are confirming their behavior. Because if I tell you that my wife don't cook, clean, or do what she's supposed to do, as you know, described in the Bible, and then you tell us in counseling that she's supposed to cook, clean, and submit herself to me as, you know, the head of the household, blah 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 blah. Now I got a tool. You know, now I got something to back me up, because Pastor said, the Bible said, and
Pastor
now you
said.
got to.
Yeah.
You know, so now that this woman is in conflict, because that's what we've been taught. You know, the pastor, the leader, is the direct messenger to God. But what I need people to understand is exactly that. That is just a messenger who is delivering a message. You can have your own relationship with God.
Yes.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
you can have your own relationship with God. You can go to God. You can pray. You get your own understanding. But people use the Bible as a weapon.
Yes. The weaponization of Scripture.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of that.
I'll tell you. So this has happened to me multiple times in counseling sessions. So when we speak about the quote unquote white church, this is typically how it plays out in my, and you guys have probably seen this before too in counseling sessions, but it starts with, so the couple comes into the office, and of course hubby's got a Bible, because I know what he's going to do. I know what he's going to do already. Right? He's going to bring it, right? He's going to hit pastor with some scripture, right? And he will cite one of the couple of verses that I typically get. You know, a woman should be quiet in church, or a woman should submit to, you know. And so they'll give me the verse, and I'll sit here quietly and listen to what they have to say, and then I'll ask them, well, what's the context of that scripture? And what does it say around it? See, the problem with the attitude of wives submit to your husbands, it's not a period at the end of that verse. That's a comma. There's a comma there. There's more to that verse. You've just decided to pick the part of the verse that suits your needs. And you probably thought that because you were going to come in here and talk to pastor, that pastor was going to agree with you. And then your feelings get hurt when I tell you, well, when we talk about submit the way the church submits to Christ. Well, Christ is worthy of that type of honor and love. He died for us. What have you done for your wife that would make her even want to be around you? Much less submit. Right? And then the rest of that verse says, husbands also love your wives in the way Christ loves the church. That means I am willing to die for you. Complaining about the dishes is not dying for you. Complaining that my food isn't cooked right. You know what that is? That is a desire for control. And I would encourage anyone who wants to challenge me on that to go ahead and take a look at Genesis 3. The domination of women by men is part of the curse.
Yes.
It is part of the curse. It's not in the original order that God desires for us on this planet. When you come with that attitude, I know where that attitude comes from. It's from your fallen flesh, right? It says that that the desire will be for the man, and he will dominate you. That is a result of a fallen world, not what Christ desires. So you need to be very careful. And I almost love it when people bring that verse in here because I get to crush it. And I love doing that. I love speaking truth from Scripture because I don't cherry pick my Scripture. I read the whole thing, right? And I understand the context. So the question I had for you though is with the clients that you've seen, do you find that, because I asked this question because I can't answer it. What struggles do you see women face in seeking help, especially coming out of Christian churches, quote unquote? What challenges do you see women facing in seeking help, and what can we as leadership, as pastors, especially as male pastors who may not understand what's happening or what they're going through, how can we help?
All women who are deeply rooted in the church, raised in the church, overly religious, it's just been passed on, not really truly understanding what you're even hearing or what you're even reading, are looking for this mythical God-sent husband that does not exist.
Okay.
And I've witnessed this before in a ministry that I was a part of for many years. Well, I stayed there about 10 years. I joined when I was like a senior in college, and I stayed there because there was some good things about it, and of course there was some negative things about it that I was realizing as I was getting older and growing more. But those women were looking for a husband. And when a single available man came to their church, it was like pounce, just get them, And what I told another lady who I'm still very good friends with, she's much older than me, I was like, those men came to their church praying on those women because they know women are taught certain things from the pulpit. That, you find you're a good man.
Right.
And so women come to therapy having found them a regular, just gonna keep it real because I said I could, a regular Ray, Pookie, Tyrone, Junebug, and Twin from the hood, and he done came to church a couple of times, he got a couple of court cases, so he wanted everybody to pray for him, help him to get his life right, and he done found God and he's straight. So now I want to marry him. He ain't ready for that. But you want to make him that because the pastor then told you that's a good man right there, that's a good brother right there. But pastor don't know all his vices, all his issues, his background, his struggles, but he came to church. So you better marry him.
He's giving me money, so you should marry him.
So so women like to bring men to therapy to fix them, and it's going to take so much more than your desire to want this man to be the man of God that you're looking for. Everybody has to want that for themselves, period. I don't care what the issue is, who it is. You have to want that for yourself, and they always bring the men to me, thinking, this is a woman, she's going to be on my side, and no, ma'am. I turn it right back on you and say, what are your issues? How did you get to this point? Because we got to talk about the red flags, the warning signs, his pattern of behavior. If he drink, drug, smoke, go to jail, do whatever, got a whole slew of issues, he's not going to automatically change for you just because you're going to say, oh, God, make him better. That's not how it works.
Yes.
But, when I go to pastor and first lady for counseling, y'all not ready for me to talk about how pastor and first lady got their own marital issues.
Oh, okay, yeah.
we not ready to discuss it.
Yeah, we
Not
are.
me, not me and my wife. We're perfect. We'll never make mistakes ever.
Right. They were fighting right behind the door as
That's
I'm
right.
sitting while I'm sitting in the lobby trying to get, June bug together so we can walk down the aisle and get married in church, and y'all behind the door arguing yourself.
Mm,
Okay.
mhm.
So when we come in to talk to y'all, Pastor got his feelings in his hands because First Lady ain't doing what she's supposed to do. So yeah, brother, I'm on your side. Yeah, they need to be quiet. Yeah, they need to submit. Yeah, they need to cook clean and be orderly and all that stuff. Cause I agree because my girl ain't in order. You know.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
First Lady gonna be like, no, you a strong woman, stand on your own, do what you gotta do, blah blah blah, because her feelings are now in her pocket because her man ain't right. So we gotta be
Mhm.
open and honest and say, I can't help you with that issue because I got my own issue.
That's right.
Not projecting, you know. Uh,
Yes.
Pastors and leaders project their issues, feelings, personal beliefs onto their congregation. So, it's my whole theory once again of the flu.
That's right.
If
That's
I
right.
got the if I got the flu, common knowledge is, I stay away from others because I do not want to contaminate them.
Mhm.
Right.
Versus, give me a hug, give me a kiss. Let's drink out the same cup. Let's hold hands. Let's walk around together. And now
Mm.
you're sick. And then you go to work and get the whole office sick. And then all those people go home and get their family sick. Then the kids go to school get the people sick. So that's the church.
Yes.
Everybody is sick. Nobody has the common sense to say, let's get somebody in here and get us better because the
Mhm.
pastor's feelings gonna be hurt. I can help y'all. I know what to do. No, you
Mm.
don't. Because if you knew what to do, you would not have generations of people coming in and out your church who's sick. The
Mhm.
That's
grandmama
right.
sick, the mama sick, all the aunties sick, all the cousins sick, all the little babies sick. You just raising sick people in your church just
Ooh,
so you
that's
can
good.
And,
That's good. That
and,
is
and, and,
good.
and see, here's what we don't get. Here's
Okay.
what pastors and leaders don't get. We're trying to help you tonight
Mhm.
because, oh, I wish they film on this guy. I'm just, it's okay.
Yeah.
I understand as a leader, as a pastor, my duty is, John, it said to watch over the flock. I ain't got nobody. And then when
Overwatch.
I see they got a problem, get them to the place they need help. It's not no failure on my part to
Yes.
get them. My job is to watch over the flock. Understand that I'm imperfect. Understand that I have flaws. Understand I have issues. But when I see somebody who's sick, my job is to say, you son, you daughter, you need, oh, I ain't got nobody, you need
Help.
therapy. That's
Yes.
my duty. My duty is not to know it all. There's nowhere in scripture where it says you need to know it all, Pastor. It's nowhere to, but it's this notion of it's this notion that we've been taught that God can fix it all. Yes, God can, but you can't.
Right.
We are not gods. Wake up. You are not a God. You are not Jesus.
Yes.
Jesus is not making no personal appearances today. So my duty in my limited capacity said, okay, I need to call a therapist. You need therapy. I know a therapist. Chantelle Stokes can help you. Here's the number. Give her a call.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've done my part. I've given you the spiritual.
Yes.
I ain't got nobody. And so that makes me a leader. That's what a leader, y'all know. Yeah, leader good. But this is cognitive deficit. This isn't. You've been taught this Jesus stuff, and Jesus is gonna fix it. And Jesus. And if you do something like that, see, we are so brainwashed. We are
Mm.
so indoctrinated. We are so nothing but parrots and regurgitate these lies and don't understand as a shepherd, your duty is to watch over the flock. Who, if my member, let's just break it down, comes to me and say they have cancer,
Mhm.
am I less of a leader because I send them to the doctor? Am
Now
I
you
going to
pray it
perform
out.
this? Am I going to perform the surgery? So why is it this when we're dealing with trauma? Why do we sit there in
Mhm.
silence when people are suffering from mental illness and trauma?
Right.
I don't think they know what
Say-
trauma really is. I don't
Yeah.
think they know what it
Exactly.
is.
Exactly.
They,
And
they don't yeah, they don't want to see. I don't want to know
right.
because see, if I deal with, say, I could have shut my ears to that kid today, but see, they don't want to know what trauma is because they don't want to deal with it. They just want to preach their sermons and feel good about it. But see, when they don't want to have what they call accountability for it. So therefore, I don't want to hear it. And if you bring trauma to me, here's the answer. Jesus will fix it. And we sing the song, Jesus will fix it. And no, Jesus is not going to fix that. You got to go through the process with people. Unprocessed trauma is still trauma. And it's so much unprocessed trauma because we refuse to deal with it because we don't want to get connected to the trauma because it's so painful and hurt. And we want to just preach it out, pray it out, fast it out, and know it's still there and deal with it. But the issue is, we are, so many of y'all, and some of you listening right now, your mind would probably turn on. Your pastor is unfit. He or she is unfit for duty.
Yes.
They're not a shepherd because if they're not leading you so like John said, you need to run from that church and don't look back because they are unfit for duty. Because when you meet trauma and when you meet suffering, and you got nobody who's just gonna they're just gonna tell you to go and get on his altar and pray. If that's all they got for you, man, you no.
Yeah. So pastors, leaders, please listen to what I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you my trick to how I know everything. You ready for this? I'm gonna show you my trick. So I'm sitting in my office right now. This is my pastoral office in the church. So this is where I hold my counseling sessions. This is where people come to see me. Now, let's say someone comes in and sits down right over here and they say, Pastor, I want therapy. And I'm like, well, great. I'm a therapist. I'm licensed in the state of Washington. And they say, well, I really want a female therapist. I'm not comfortable with a male therapist, which is okay. It's completely okay. Let me show you what I have. So I'm gonna open my desk right here and I'm gonna pull this out. You guys see this? This is a listing of different therapists, places to eat, get food, things like that, right? Because guess what? This may come as a shock to you, but Pastor John doesn't know everything. I don't know everything. But you know what I do need to know as a leader is how to get help when help is needed.
Yes.
And if you are not plugged into the community around you with a therapist, with housing, with the welfare office, with the mental health office, if you are not plugged in around you, you are failing your congregation because you don't know everything. And look at my wall. I got all kinds of papers that say I know a lot of cool stuff. I still don't know everything. I can't help everyone, right? But I bet I can find someone that might be able to help you. Or are you just going to sit here and get offended because they wanted a female therapist and not a male therapist, and now you're all in your feelings, right? And then now it's not even about helping them anymore. It's about, I don't have control over this person. Now they're going to go to this therapist. They're going to pay their money to the therapist, and I'm going to lose my paycheck. Right? And I hate to say this, but a lot of times what I definitely see coming around here is there are pastors that are so interested in their bottom line, they will cross any line.
Ooh.
They're so interested in their bottom line that they will cross any line. If that means they have to block you off from therapists, block you off from family. Do you know what that's called? That's called a cult. That's what that is. And you need to run. Cults are dangerous.
And John, who did he use as a number one endorser? Y'all talking about endorsements, the political endorsement? You know who the church uses, pastor? You know who you use? You know what will wind you up in a pit is using the name of the Lord in vain with your lives. God told me to tell you this, sister. God told me to tell you, brother, use God to endorse your heresy. And God does not endorse your heresy. God does not endorse your mess. God does not endorse your lies. You're using the name of the Lord in vain. This is heresy. This is blasphemy when you're using God in the name of Jesus. God told you this. When you know that man and that woman just told you about their marriage, you talking about God just revealed to you, talking about you need to preach on marriage. Quit lying, pastor. You know them people just told you about the situation. You talking about God told you to preach about this, and you just talked to people last night. Talking about God gave it to you. You're a lie from the pit of hell.
Yes.
Because you know God gave it to you. You just want to preach on them people's lives and destroy them because you refuse to use the tools. You're unfit. You refuse to use the tools to deal with what God. You disobey this number one law. The key to anybody. See, I know that I have my place as a pastor, and I'll let you speak on this, Chantelle, is I obey the law of love.
Mm-hmm.
Not the law of America, not the law of my denomination, not the law of my tradition, the law of love. When somebody comes to me in need, the law of love says this, for me to make sure I do anything by any means necessary to get the care they need. It's not about my pocketbook. It's not about my bank account. It's not about my membership. It's not about who knew. It's about the law of love, John. We're supposed to operate on the law of love, and we're supposed to do whatever it takes. The law. I tell my parishioners, me and my wife cannot help you to everything. We're gonna do what we do, but I'm gonna. You can call them. I'll give you the numbers. Call them. We've told them specifically, go get therapy, go get help. We've done the best we can, but we're limited. I'm not ashamed to say it because you will not outlove me.
Yes.
You will not. I'm here to die for them. And so until we understand the law of love, you are sitting. Many of you. Listen to a howling that can preach good, make you feel good, give you these tinglings up your spine and all that kind of stuff. And you fall off and you're talking about you had church, but then you're going home to die.
Yes.
This is what we're dealing with. This is a grown folks show tonight. This is what we're dealing with. So some of you need to leave the church that you're at right now because it's nothing but a den of thieves and a den of lies that's going to keep you in your situation. You go and say that you're depressed. You can't go and say you're depressed because then you're not praying. You're not fat. You're not doing, no, you just suffer from depression.
That's right.
You can speak on that. And we tell them, well, sister, brother, what are you doing wrong? No, it's an illness, right? Am I right, Chantelle?
It is a disorder. It is a diagnosis. There are many researches and factual databases that have this information in there. I mean, you can Google it. You can look on WebMD, and to tell someone that any type of diagnosis, mental illness, psychiatric disorder, anything is a sin, you demonic, you possess, it's witchcraft. Those are the ones that really make me cringe because, like I said, if I am hallucinating and I'm not really understanding. First of all, let me go back and say this. People go to church for everything. I'm sad. I'm hurt. I'm going through a divorce. Somebody died. The kids acting up. I need a job. I lost my job. I just need help, guidance, answers, insight, prayer, whatever. That is the first place that most people will go to for everything. Like you said, I'm hungry. I need a place to stay. I need my light bill paid. I need something. And so it's naturally understood that the church can provide these things. However, the church is not providing these things because we have people in place who do not know what to do. Wow. Period.
That's right. That's right.
You don't know what to do. So if I have a severe psychiatric disorder and I come to you to the altar and say, I'm hallucinating, I'm seeing things, I'm feeling things, and the first thing you do is say, everybody stand up. Let's pray for Chantelle. These demons in her, these demons on her. She full of hell. She needs this, she needs that. You have just ostracized me forever in the church.
Wow.
Yes.
I am mentally ill, but you done told these people that I got demons on me.
That's right.
Mental illness is not a demon. It is not witchcraft. You are not cursed. You are not sinful.
Say it again for the people in the back and the front. A mental illness is not a demon. You're not Satan possessed. You're not the Antichrist.
No,
you're not.
This is.
When I tell your pastor that.
Yeah. So I wanted to hit this question because I think it. So we've been talking a lot about mental illness and it's important too, but this is a good one. So I'll read this question from the group today. This comes from Miss Marlene, close friend of mine, basically family to me. She says, so I have a family member that believes cancer is a result of not having a close enough relationship with God. Thoughts?
Oh my God.
Let me tell you what I think, and then I'll hand it over real quick. First of all that is prosperity gospel dressed up in the medical business.
Ooh.
Right? You don't love. The reason you're poor is that you don't love Jesus enough. The reason that you're broken is that you don't love Jesus enough.
Using Jesus' name again.
That's right. Here we go. We're gonna use God to get our money, right? In more ways than one. I'll tell you this, Miss Marlene, and you know me. You knew me BC. You knew me before Christ. So be nice. But here's what I'll say. If a person is coming to Jesus for money or for stuff, then Jesus is not your God. Money is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me tell you. Let me just make this very clear. Regardless of where your relationship is with God, you can get cancer. Regardless of where your relationship is with God, because you know what? I know bishops that have died of cancer, and I've known atheists that have died of cancer.
Wow.
That's not a Christian issue. That's a medical issue. And there's
is
nothing wrong with a pastor saying, and I've seen this before, and stop me if you've heard this story before. Well, you don't need that cancer medication. You need Jesus.
Woo! Yes.
And furthermore, let me tell you this: you, pastor, if you are saying that to your flock, get off the pulpit. You are a heretic. You are leading your people astray, and you are leading them to death. That is not the purpose of a pastor. That is sick. That is disgusting. And I don't know, Miss Marley, I don't know who told you this.
Oh,
I think I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. If I find out who told you this, it's gonna be a misunderstanding.
But before Chantelle, let me make this very personal statement right now. John, you know this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting personal right now. My mom at 85, she suffers right now today.
Mm-hmm.
She just got suffered from Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell anybody, if you come up to me or preach a sermon to me that says, because somebody from Alzheimer's, they don't know God, I will walk out of the pulpit while you're preaching in the middle of the service, out of church.
Mm-hmm.
And you better not get too close to me.
That's right.
Because let me tell you something. I know my mom is a woman of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when before this happened, she did nothing to deserve that.
That's right.
So this notion, see, these God endorsed lies that you put, I don't buy them. But if anybody ever said that to me,
that's disgusting.
You better not get close to me, because you're talking about BC, John. I'm gonna go back to BC.
Yeah, you don't want that. I'm telling you.
You don't want that party. You don't want that heat. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That is the problem. You know,
Yes.
like I always tell people, God gives you common sense. You know, God gives you common sense. And so
Right.
it's no different when you're asthmatic, when you're diabetic, when you have these medical issues, when you have migraines, back problems, knee problems. You are going to go to the doctor to alleviate that pain that you are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That is a reality. There is nothing like being in physical pain, but physical pain doesn't hold a candle to emotional and mental pain.
Yes.
That's
It
right.
just doesn't. That is something that you have to work through. That, I mean, we're talking about trauma, anxiety, depression, nervousness, restlessness, you know, feeling unloved, feeling unworthy. And you're going to tell me that I'm playing a part in that because I didn't read the Bible, I didn't give my love offering, I didn't pay enough money,
I didn't pay my money.
I didn't come to a certain event. You know, when you have emotional and mental distress happening, that is a whole horse of another color. And if you are not equipped to handle it, be honest and say, you know, yes, we can pray on today. But once again, let me call one of the bishops who are in contact with a person who can do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
That's the reality of it. People, you're right. People will say they don't understand what trauma is. You know, people are coming to church trying to get delivered of what happened to them, being sexually assaulted by their uncle, who may be the deacon of the church.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready now. Y'all done got me riled up.
That's right. That's
you know, how can I sit there and discuss that with you when this is your right hand man, but he assaulted me when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? You know, so I can't come to you and tell you that your boy is the one who did that to me, because of course you're gonna shoot that down. I'm a liar. I'm a harlot. I'm a whore. I'm all these things. You know, I heard you smoke weed. You got 3 different baby daddies. I'm doing all these things as a result of the sexual trauma that I experienced by the deacon.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So when I say that the leadership, the pastors sometimes have their own trauma, their own issues, and they insert their personal beliefs into a situation, that's when you got to remove yourself. You can't put your personal beliefs about anything into a situation when a person is telling you they are suffering from any type of issue. I don't care what the issue is. It doesn't have anything to do with you.
Did you see what I said today? I said on Facebook today, some people when they walk, some people when they walk in the house of God, they're traumatized every week because their uncle raped them.
Yes.
The uncle in the church.
And right there in the church, a deacon in the church.
The family
goes to
church.
the pastor.
It's a family church.
Who they gonna tell? The family church. See, we don't like this kind of party. We don't want to talk about this. The pedophile uncle who's right there, deacon, on the head deacon.
Head deacon.
That's right. We can't talk about that though, because if he gets in trouble, I mean, it's going to ruin the church, man.
Yeah. And so that's why, and so we keep this secrecy because we care more about institutions than humanity. Yes. I'm gonna say that again. We care more about our institutions than we care about humanity, and that's how we violate the law of love, Sunday in, Sunday out. Because that young girl, nobody's gonna believe her. Nobody's protecting her. The missionaries don't want to hear. The women don't want to hear. Oh, your uncle did that. You're not gonna mess up this church. You're not gonna mess up house God. You talking about keeping it real. Let's keep it real. And particularly in where I'm from, this is stuff happens all the time. Uncle, everybody know that Uncle Bobo, the deacon, is a predator running around the community, raping and doing this and that, but nobody says nothing about it because it's going to ruin the institution. And then we wonder why you sit up and ask questions about why people leave the church, why they don't trust the church. Because I was raped in the church. I was abused in the church. I'm not going to bring a trauma to the church. This is where the trauma happened. I don't have nobody. Right. It happened right here. It happened in the back office. It happens in the deacons. Man, it happened right here. And
see,
so
they gonna pray that out of him though.
That's right.
They gonna pray that out of him back there, in the
no. It was her fault. It was her fault.
That's right.
If you want to address this Sunday, you want to entice deacon to look at you.
Well,
your fault.
The reason they got raped is because they didn't love Jesus enough.
Yeah.
That's why, right? If they loved Jesus enough, that wouldn't have happened. So absurd, right? Absolutely ridiculous. I did want to bring up one thing. So I got asked on a personal message, and I'll give you the question, and then I'll give you my take, and I'd love to hear you guys' take on it. What is the difference between mental illness and demonic possession?
Oh, here we go.
So this, I think this is this is something that pastors don't know enough about either one.
They don't.
They don't understand mental illness or demonic possession. Now, let me say this. I'm a Christian, right? I believe what's in the Bible. I believe that demons are real. I believe that demonic possession is real. However, there is a distinct difference between demonic possession and mental illness, because you do not have a demon because you are mentally ill. Right? In the same way that you don't have a demon because you have cancer. You don't have a demon because things are going wrong in your life. That's absurd. So here's what I will say. This is what I typically add, because I get asked this question a lot. This is what I typically say. My typical answer is, one, let's look at per capita how many demonic possessions occur in Scripture, which is the course of almost 5,000 years. Very few. It is rare. It's rare in Scripture. It's probably even rarer here in the here and now. What do we know about mental illness? It runs rampant.
Yes.
And as the church, I think we have to own our part in it. Part of it, the reason it runs rampant in the church, is because either we don't know what to do,
right,
or we allow it to happen.
Yes.
Either way, Pastor, you are failing. So when I've had people come to me and say, I have a demon in me. Okay, well, sit down. Let's talk about that. Why do you think you have that? And typically, almost 100% of the time, in my personal experience, I've been able to pinpoint in the DSM-5 a mental illness that they have. It's not a demon, but you know what? They've been taught that by the pulpit. They've been taught that because they're not quote unquote normal, that they're demonic. Like, do you understand what you're telling people when you're saying that if there's something wrong with you, you're a demon?
Wow.
So I'd love to hear what you guys think about that.
like I said, when I hear that, that just makes me cringe, and I always want to remain respectful to leaders and pastors and be orderly, the things that we are taught, don't you dare disrespect and call out somebody. But, like I said, constantly telling somebody about witchcraft and demonic possession, I think we have to be very careful of preaching that across the pulpit. And I wanted to bring this example up because I knew that that was going to come up because
Mhm.
that was something that I wanted to talk about, that whole
Yes.
witchcraft and demon possession.
Yes.
Now, I'm also a therapist at a psychiatric hospital here in the city. And
Mhm.
so it's a very interesting place to work,
I
needless
bet.
to say.
I bet.
And so people come in there from different places, different backgrounds, and things like that. And believe it or not, we have had some pastoral leaders to come into the psychiatric hospital, and they are always very interesting.
Mhm.
But this one particular time on the acute unit, which is, of course, the extremely psychotic, just sometimes beyond approach, which is the unit that they let me work on because I'm supposed to be so great with these people.
Mhm.
A guy had this episode. I mean, he just went from 0 to 100, in a matter of seconds. And I mean, we had to call reinforcement, and everybody came down. And
Mhm.
I wanted to bring this example up because in the midst of what was a proven psychiatric mental break, because that's what it was, this
Mhm.
man was speaking in tongues.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. Okay.
And
Wow.
yes, he was speaking in tongues. And I'll never forget that because I still see him at the other hospital that I work at. He's, always lingering around. He always kind of looks at me and I ask him how he's doing. But everybody was just dismayed at what was taking place. But
Mm.
here we are in a locked psychiatric hospital. That's what it is. You can't get in, you can't get out without swiping the key. You are locked in. This is not a resort. This man was having a psychotic break because he is mentally ill. He is a
Mhm.
paranoid schizophrenic. Yet, in that very moment when he was having that break, he appeared to be speaking in tongues.
Mm.
So, you know, I understand professionally and respect how people, religious people, say that because that's exactly what it seemed like. Because how other can you explain what he is doing by speaking in tongues than a demon has came into the walls of the psychiatric hospital and chosen this one person to
Mhm.
deliver a message. And so it just was so profound and interesting to me that all I did was observe.
Mhm.
But of course, they had to give him medication. They had to, strap him down because there was no controlling him. So it's always going to be debatable to a religious person that he was being attacked by a demon
Mm.
or was an underlying issue, an underlying trauma manifesting in him at that point that presented himself as if he was speaking in tongues. Which
Mhm.
one is the truth? I think there's always going to be a point of debate and a point of confusion for people who want to blame everything on being demon possessed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Now, being educated, being professional, I too myself do believe that demons and spirits can enter into people. I can't lie and say that I don't believe that. I am going to say I do not think that is the case for every situation that happens in life. That's just
Right.
not true. That's just not
Mhm.
true. So I think we need to be very careful in telling everybody across the pulpit that you're full of hell, you're demon possessed, you're a witch, or witchcraft is in you. So you gotta be careful of using that language because
Right.
if I have something going on, I'm not gonna come to you and tell you anything because you have already stigmatized me. So
Mhm.
I just think
Mhm.
we have to be very careful with that. Personally, some of that stuff is not appropriate to me, but
That's right.
What I witnessed that day was
Right.
a mentally ill person
Mhm.
having a psychotic break, speaking in tongues. That is what he was
Right.
doing. That's what
Right.
it was. So
Mhm.
Here's the argument that I'm tired of, and I'm just not tonight. I'm just not in the mood. No, I'm hearing this. You know, they're not people not educated. Past that. Look, I work at a school, right?
the
If a
trainings are
kid,
available.
if a kid, no, I mean, if a kid, I have training, but here's my point in this situation. To my education, right? They'll do better. These people know. If a kid walk up to me and he got a black eye
Mm-hmm.
at 7 o'clock in the morning,
Mhm.
how much education do I need to say there's a problem? My life experience tells me there's a problem. My humanity tells me there's a problem. I am a first responder.
Mm.
You know what the state of Texas is gonna say if I don't do nothing when I go to court?
You're in trouble.
You saying you're not educated or not even trained is not an excuse.
Mhm.
You are 53 years old, man. You see that 14-year-old with that black eye. You see those scars upside their head. You see that bruise on that girl's. Why didn't you say anything? Well, I'm an educated or trained. See this notion that when these pastor, you are a first responder.
Yes.
Good
You
analogy.
have to respond to the issue and this notion that you don't have it. That's why we're talking tonight. You don't need education to know that if a husband and wife are beating each other up, they need some therapy. How much education do you know? We need to quit behind this. They not educated. That's an excuse to have behind. No, they don't have the will. It's WIL. You don't want to do it because of the money. You don't want to do it because you want to protect the institution. You don't want to tell on Uncle Joe because Uncle Joe is a deacon and that's going to bring a light. Ask the Catholic Church. You got every pastor there that's educated out of the bazoo with 30 degrees. What did the Catholic do? When Priest Jojo was sleeping with little John, they sent Priest Bobo to the next bar. Y'all looking at me funny.
Mhm.
Right.
Don't tell me about no education.
Yeah.
It's the will. You don't want to do it. You don't want to help anybody. You don't want your little organization to be in the news. You don't want to help. So you help the predator, and you don't care about the person. So
That's right.
this Catholic Church is one of the most educated institutions on the face of the earth. Look at the problem they have. They know. They don't want it. It's a will problem. So quit talking about these people need education. No, as a pastor, if a young girl told me she was molested, I know what to do. I got resources. I got you. I got John. I got you. I know what to do. I don't want to do it. I don't have the will to do it. I don't want to deal with it. I want it to go away. I want to just pray it away. And this is what we're bringing to the church. We've been taught just pray it away. And so really many of us, not only sinful, I'm finna go somewhere. Y'all like this kind of party. You're criminal too.
That's right.
Some of you are criminals in a pulpit because you know this stuff is going to, you know, you're just nothing but a sinful criminal, not only violating the laws of God, the laws of love, you're violating the laws of humanity, and you are a criminal. And so therefore, just own who you are and quit saying you need education. Quit, just own it and say you don't want to deal with it. You don't care. You want to preach a little sermon. You want to have your happy service because you don't care about this trauma issue. You are unfit for duty. Just own it. I'm tired of this. Well, if they have more education, no, they know. You know what's happening. If a girl told me she was raped last night, how much education do I need? I'm gonna get her. I'm not. I don't know if it happened, but I know how to go through the process. I know what to do. I know to call the authorities. I don't need a training on that. Come on, I don't need to. I don't need that. If somebody's telling me I just read. Here's a statistic right here. I just read today, and it just moved me. Suicide is the second leader killer of adolescents, teenagers. Suicide.
Yeah.
So if we don't do it, so how much education do you need to understand if a teenager talking to you that warning signs? You might not be educated about that
suicide.
to recognize the warning signs, but you don't want to take and get help, but they're killing themselves. But we
Suicide is
have
a sin. You're going straight to hell if you kill yourself. So,
Yeah.
people don't want to address anything that doesn't sound good, doesn't feel good. So that's why it's much easier to ignore and deny. But I know here in Tennessee they offer free classes to churches. That's something that they're doing. We have many different organizations where people will come in and train a church staff. Now I don't know how many churches are really open to doing that because, like I said, once again, you are going to you're going to test my understanding of everything that I have ever believed and everything that I'm teaching my people. That it's more out there than coming here. So people get very offensive when you ask them to change their thinking. But
yeah.
like I said, the sickest people are sitting up in a church full of hurt, full of pain, full of trauma. And I do agree. We haven't talked about this yet. The hurt, the church hurt, which people say they have experienced, is something that people take so personal once they are hurt by someone in the church. That's because they have put their faith and their understanding in the leaders. It doesn't have anything to do with the church or the institution. It's that I love pastor so much. I love first lady so much. I'm dedicated to the choir. I'm dedicated to the bake sales. But the whole time I'm so dedicated to this because I have abandonment issues. I wasn't loved properly. I didn't get what I needed somewhere in life. So this is all I have. And so when that's taken away from me, I don't know how to, regroup from that. And no one in the church is able to talk to me about, someone said something to me and I feel a certain way about it. So all that church hurt, that church trauma, that jumping from church to church, looking for something, seeking something, that's like going in and out of abusive relationships. And people are doing that, just going from church to church, trying to get the love that they're needing. But, that's causing depression. That's causing anxiety. That's causing anger, bitterness, shame, and guilt. So the church is guilty of a lot of things that they do not know how to address and do not want to address because we want to keep our little facade that this is just the best little church right here and we don't have any issues, where the leadership got issues all the way down. So the congregation got issues, and they're taking these issues and these teachings that they are being taught every Sunday, and you're taking them to other people, and they're looking like, really? Because I'm the really person. When I hear stuff like that, this is a true story. I went to a concert one night here at the Orpheum. It was like a Maxwell concert. Maxwell's a pretty decent guy. He doesn't curse. He doesn't do anything inappropriate. And I told my coworker, I said, I saw your pastor at the concert last night. This man got so offended. You would have thought I told him I saw his wife with two porn stars in the front row of the concert. He said, my pastor wasn't at no Maxwell concert. I was like, yeah, he was. No, he wasn't. He don't go to concerts. He's a person. He was there at the Maxwell concert in the seat in front of me. This person was offended, was hurt, took that personally. The man went to a concert. He was not smoking crack. He was not selling drugs. He attended a concert. That makes him less of a pastor because he attended a concert. That's the type of thinking that people have about pastors and leaders that has them all screwed up. It's a man. It's a woman. They're human. They like ice cream. They like cake. They get their car washed.
Love cake.
I like strawberry cake.
Love cake.
So they're regular people, but this man was almost ready to just go to war with me. He was personally offended that I said, I saw your pastor at the concert. So that type of thinking is what causes church hurt. They don't argue. They don't fight. They don't have problems. They pay their bills on time. They have some of the most prolific issues going on. But I can't tell you or anyone else that I got issues in my own life because I'm the pastor.
Right. Yeah, that's a serious problem with pastoral leadership right now. And
I know.
a lot of the literature out there and a lot of things are saying that, most pastors are, I think the research says within 5 years, most pastors quit.
Mm,
Most pastors don't make it past 5 years.
wow.
Most pastors do not have a person that they would call a close friend, right?
Mm,
So you're alienated. And it says most pastors struggle with depression. They struggle
yes.
with anxiety,
Hmm.
and it's not. So I'm not saying feel sorry. Feel sorry for John or feel sorry for the pastor. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying though is if you're a pastor, right? Pastoral work is hard. It's a lot
Hmm.
more than just preaching on Sunday.
Hmm.
That's something that I learned. I didn't know that when I started. I was like, I'll just do my hour on Sunday, and very very little of what I do occurs on Sunday.
Hmm.
So when you and I'm very fortunate. I have a very understanding wife. I have a strong family structure. I have friends I can talk to. I'm very fortunate in those aspects, right? And those things hold me up. But if you're a pastor or you're a leader who's struggling with that, right? It's okay to say, hey, I'm struggling with this. You know what that may mean, and I think this is why a lot of pastors don't do this. It may mean for a time you need to step down.
Ooh, my
It,
ego would not let me do that.
right, and if I'm just being honest, I would struggle with that too. I think I really would struggle with deciding if I need help or not, because I've been taught that pastors don't have issues,
Mm.
and if they find out you have an issue, you're a bad pastor, and that's simply not true. If you're struggling, it's okay to step down, get what you need, right? Go.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just a sabbatical. Maybe it's just spending time with your wife and kids and coming back in. I'll tell you, the 2 weeks I spent in Texas, when I came back, I was ready to go to work. And I'll tell you, right before I left, I was pretty beat down, right? I mean, that yeah, it's tough work. Most pastors, all their scars are in their back. Very few pastors have scars in the front.
Mm.
Most of them are in the back because there's some sheep that have very sharp teeth.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not just we have an obligation to our congregations. If we are struggling, we have to have the courage to step down. I think is
Yes.
what I say.
Yes. I agree. I
Mhm.
totally agree.
How
If
do
more people did that, there would be less sick people in your church. If you would be open and honest and say, I'm gonna sit down for a couple Sundays and I'm gonna let someone
Mhm.
else take my place, or I'm just not going to come to church
Mhm.
at all because I have something that I'm dealing with, you know. But people just can't do that because you want to lose faith in me. It's not about that. You can't help me if you're sick yourself. You just cannot help me if you are sick yourself, and I know it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And see that's why I don't that's why I don't pastor from the position of I say you might I can show you the video. I say the proof I'm dysfunctional. I've got issues. If you call me the wrong time at work, you might get some words that you might not. You want to get praise the Lord, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. You might get the wrong word. I just keep it real. You can ask look. Don't look at me. I tell them stop following. If I stop following Christ, stop following me. Don't go pray about it. Don't get counseling about it. Don't see therapy about it. Leave.
Mhm.
Run. Get out of here.
Mhm.
Do that. I tell them this, and I mean this because I understand that I'm a human being and I can fall and people will fall with you because they've met you as a demagogue. But I think again about the educational thing. I think we got to answer the question. People like being godly. All right,
Yes.
this is the wrong show for you. Like it. You like being godly. You like the power of people looking up to you. Not like my kid in a reverence. You like them thinking that you walk on one arm and got them. You like them thinking that you do the position. You like them feeling good. You like this little demigod. You sit there. You like people worshiping you. You
Yes.
love people praising you. You
Yes.
love people. It's not about a little honor. Everybody, the Bible says give honor who's honor and due. That's fine. But you like to praise. You like to worship. You like, oh, I ain't got nobody. I don't like this. Turn me off. I don't care. You like it, Pastor. You like it. You need the education because you know what you like. You like being worshiped. You want to be waited on. You want to be treated like the king. You want to have the leaves flowing when you go and you want to be the Pharaoh. Yeah. You want to be on the throne. You love your throne.
You want your holy jacket.
Yeah, you love your place. And so my thing is, how can we help the people though? My thing is, how can we help? Because I had this question come. It's hard for people to leave. We talk about right, but it's hard. What can you as therapists tell people that, how do you, when you're in a situation, it's draining you. Mm-hmm. It's destroying you. He ain't gonna sit down. He or she, they're not gonna do it because they want to be that place.
It's true.
How can I get the courage to say, you know what? Traditions tell me to stay here. Family is telling me to stay here. All the label that America's labeling is telling me to stay here. But I need to leave for my life because I'm dying here. I'm being drained. I'm being destroyed. What can we do with this show, this few minutes when we have left to help people say, I'm in a toxic, that word as a therapist. I'm in a toxic, terrible situation. I need to get out. The first step is getting out. And particularly with churches, is such a, like you said, a powerful institution that wraps pretty much your whole life. Your family's involved in the church. Everything that you've been going there since you were a little girl, a little boy. How do you lead it? Not leaving church, not church, but how do you leave that particular toxic situation to find a better place that can help you?
It's a process, and most definitely takes a lot of attempts. Like I said, it's like a relationship. I want to break up with you, but then you kind of sense something about to break up with you, so you're gonna buy me some candy. You're gonna bring that blue Tiffany box. You're gonna have to, you're gonna do something to lure me back in. But I tell people, when you get mentally tired, when you're emotionally tired, and then you become physically tired, your body is gonna sit you down. You're not going to be able to carry on. So that's what people think, not only in the church, but on the jobs, that this job can't go on without me. The church can't go on without me. The church need me. The job need me. If you don't come, they will be okay. Mm-hmm. That is just the reality of it. And most religious people don't like this either. You have to put yourself first.
Wow.
That is not against God. No. Self-care, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, doing something for yourself. That does not make you a demon or heathen or anything like that. You have to take care of yourself first and foremost. And if anyone doesn't understand that or respect that, they don't understand or respect you, because you're not going to be in chemo for 12 hours every night, and then I honestly, realistically expect you to show up Sunday morning and be on the usher board. But if you don't show up, you ain't got no faith of God gonna heal you when you come to the altar and when you come through the building. No, pastor, doctor, reverend, apostle, I just got out of chemo and my doctor said I should rest. Mm-hmm. So you have to have open and honest conversations. I just don't feel good. I can't make it. But we have been whipped and chastised so much. You come to church every Sunday. Every Sunday, you come to church out of rituals and tradition, not even getting anything out of it. You cry on the way to church. You cry when you leave church. You cry on Monday through Saturday. You are not helping people. But all the pews are filled up. It looks good when we're streaming live on the internet. But everybody is still sick, depressed, want to kill themselves, smoking dope, selling dope, whatever their vice is. But our presentation looks good. Our parking lot full. We got all these ministries. We got all this going on. We got our ATM down in the lobby.
That's not a bad idea. I never thought about that. I'm kidding.
But we are still not well. I'm
Yeah.
still hurt. I'm still confused. I'm still traumatized, damaged, angry, depressed, crying, suicidal, hiding things that I can't explain to nobody, but you don't care about that.
I would
You
say
don't care
these
about
words.
that.
Don't let, as a pastor, I would tell you this here as a leader. Nobody has the right or the authority to co-sign your self-worth.
Mm.
God, get your image. You're made in the image of God. Look in the mirror. Nobody got the right to co-sign your self-worth. And if that's destroyed, if anybody destroys your self-worth, I don't care what they have behind their name. I don't care what they do. You need to make sure that you are allowing that, because nobody has the right to co-sign that. Nobody has a right to say, you know what, you can't go get help.
Right.
You can't go get your healing. You can't go deliverance. If you allow religious tactics, these lies to do, then we're praying for you. But I'm telling you right now, nobody has the right to co-sign your life.
It's one of the
God
reasons.
gave it to you.
It's a problem. It's a problem in the church.
Definitely.
If you go outside of the church for anything, you don't believe in your leader, you don't believe in God, you're not reading your Bible properly, you need to fast more, pray harder, you need to do all these things, which is fine. However, if I have a more severe and persistent issue that is lasting, then tell me, okay, Chantelle, we have done this and we tried that, and it doesn't look like there has been a change. Don't come back and tell me you need to start coming to church every day and we need to pray harder and you need to pay more money and you need to do whatever. And I'm not being sarcastic when I say, you need to pay more money, but people will tell you, they will give you a specific amount.
Mm-hmm.
However, you will chastise other people, false prophets, psychics, tarot card readers, and all these other people that comes across the pulpit who tells you to pay them a specific price to heal you, but you're basically doing the same thing. You're basically doing the same thing. So got to be very careful of motives. What is your motive? Why don't you want me to go and sit with a therapist and let me tell the therapist what you're telling me or what's really happening inside the church? That's dysfunction. Why don't you want anyone to know what's really happening here? That I told you that I was suicidal, but you told me I didn't need to go to the psychiatric hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because many of them, if they do go, they're gonna have the police knocking on the door for.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of them don't
that.
want to go, because they didn't say nothing. Yeah.
Yep, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man.
Trauma survivors. I got a question on trauma survivors. This is how do when somebody's dealing with trauma, in the church, because I believe I said trauma is the mission field of the 21st century, and it's going to be a great exodus, church. If you don't get this message, if you don't get what we're trying to, your pews are going to be empty, because trauma is real. And how do you help the trauma survivor reject the script of shame and self-blame and put that in the perpetrator's hand? How do you help that victim? What's the process of helping the victim who was raped, who was done things beyond control? That crack baby who was born with an addiction, and they were just because their mother did it, or any situation. That sense of guilt. What did I do wrong? And that's the first step in processing thing. And see, this is what we don't want to deal with. We're talking about a process, and church, you're a part of the process. You're just not the whole process.
Oh, yes.
That's the problem with you. You're part of the process. We need our spirituality. We need God, but we also, in some situations, you need more. And so, how do we help the instead of saying, because see, if you go out there and pray, because you mentioned something that earlier about how if something don't change, then you start feeling guilt with a marriage situation. See, hold on. If I walk to the altar and say I'm struggling with something, and the pastor say, now you prayed, you laid on the altar, you left it there, But if I'm thinking about the Monday morning, see, not only I'm still dealing with the trauma, but now I've let my pastor down. I ain't got no. See, now I've let him or her down now, because I suppose have left it there. And why am I still struggling with it? Why am I still dealing with it? So now we put trauma with no trauma. We're traumatizing again because we're saying that you should have, it should just magically, somebody said on, I think Marlene, you rub your Jesus lamp, and it's supposed to be magically going away, but Monday and Tuesday I'm still struggling with it because it's not going away. Church folks told me it's going away. The missionary of the church told me it's going away. So I don't have no faith. So now God's disappointed me because they use God's name. I got nobody with that. So now I went through my issue. Now I let the pastor down, and now I left God down because I'm not supposed to be thinking about this Monday. How to, this is what we're dealing with people. Trauma will on trauma, and we're passing this stuff down.
That's problematic in the church. It is, some things cannot be resolved in one session, one altar call, one situation.
Most things can't be solved in an altar call.
If I have 20 years of hurt, pain, shame, guilt, trauma, if I have all these extensive memories and thoughts and behaviors, then, it's contradictory to religious people to say, give it all up to God and that's it. Respect that, understand that. But the reality is, when we're talking about your brain and thinking disorders, it takes time for that to happen. Okay? Your brain, you only have one brain. Your brain has to understand what is happening and what is taking place. Most religious people do not want to discuss the brain and neuroscience and the research attached to that. Yes, I pray. Yes, I read the Bible. Yes, I've done these things. But this delicate organ right here has to catch up with what is happening. What do you think about that, John?
Well, I think a lot of times, and I think you kind of hit it on the head. And I think all of this kind of comes back to, we think as pastors, like if our altar call doesn't work, we're a bad pastor. Or if our congregation is going out and seeking help, somehow we have failed as a pastor. And I think Bishop Aaron talked about this as well. I think the worst thing you can do as a pastor is take the attitude of, I have to have every answer, and and every answer has to be a spiritual one. God has given us these amazing, like, Christian, you should not be afraid of the telescope or the microscope. I say this a lot. You should not be afraid of the telescope or the microscope. God has created an amazing universe and has created humans in his image with amazing brains who have created things like chemotherapy, who have created things like psychoanalysis, forensic psychology, like all these different things that, I'm reminded of a story that I actually probably tell too much at my church. And it's there was once a man in a house, and, there's a flood coming, and the sheriff comes up and says, hey, I can give you a ride out of town and we can get on the mountain. And he says, no, God's going to save me. And then the water gets up to the first level of the house, and then he's on the second level. Guy comes by in a boat. Hey, I'm here to help you, man. I get in this boat. We'll go to the mountain. Nope. God's going to save me.
Yes, I know this story.
He gets to the top, and the helicopter comes in, and he's like, no, Coast Guard, God's going to save me. So the helicopter leaves. Well, he drowns and dies.
Right.
And he goes to heaven, and he's like, God, why didn't you save me? Well, I sent you a sheriff, a boat, the helicopter, and you didn't take any of them. And that
yes.
So when I talk to pastors about giving up some control, right? There are avenues that God has provided in your community, right? Because if you think that God can only operate inside the four walls of your church, you have a puny God. I'm sorry, if your God is so small that he can only operate inside of the four walls of your church, that's not the God I serve.
Right.
My God is an awesome God, right? Who is capable of speaking through the therapist. He's capable of speaking through the atheist. So the idea or the notion that it all has to get fixed in this altar call in one day is absurd, and it's a desire to control.
Yes.
We don't want to see that as pastors. We know I'm doing it because this is what Jesus wants me to do. No, Jesus wants you to care and love your people, and sometimes that means getting them the help they need
outside of yourself.
Here's how I know that a pastor's juvenile and very immature. You know, when we always talk about our bodies, right? We're always talking about losing weight. We're always talking about, now, if I walked up to my pastor and said, you know what, I need to work on my body. I need to exercise. I just got a membership at Gold's Gym, or Planet Fitness or whatever. If we take a survey, if we take an empirical survey, I guarantee probably about 90%. That's good. They wouldn't see. I got y'all gonna get with me. Y'all gonna get with me. They'll probably say that's good. Do it. Working out is good for you, and make sure you eat right. I'm going on this diet for our bodies, right? Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard any pastor talking about your mental health? You was talking about the brain. See, your mental health, ain't got nobody, is just as important as your physical health.
It's true.
Why don't you preach a sermon, Pastor, on mental health? We read these stories in the Bible, and here's what we messed up, Bishop John. We act like these people were not human beings. We read them as mythical characters. Oh, Moses killed a man and ran from Egypt and was on the backside there 40 years. And we read it. Abraham was told by God that just leave and we read these stories and we act like they were just mythical superhero heroes, that they didn't have any feelings attached with this and stuff. That no, they were human beings. They went through struggles. Look at Abraham. They went through struggles with this thing. This thing. I just y'all probably don't know it. You watch football. A young man named Andrew Luck retired from football, 29 years old. Mm-hmm. The fans were booing him as he walked off. But see, that don't bother me, because fans are fanatical. They're crazy. They don't care what you. They're like, that's like the Coliseum. But when we dealing with people on our level, why don't you, pastor, leader, church, ever preach a sermon series on mental health? See, I'm trying to do therapy every Sunday. It's not about me feeling good. I'm trying to tell them, get your mind right. I just preached a whole sermon last week on, you know what? Rest. Here's what people say all the time. Can't stand it. I'll rest when I'm in heaven.
Oh my God.
Hold on. God don't need you resting in heaven. And if you read what's going to happen in heaven, you're not going to be rested, because you're not going to be in this body that need rest. Wake up. No.
Oh, wow.
But the Bible I read tells me that on the seventh day, God himself rested. And then from that rest, he created something called a woman. Because after he rested on the seventh day, he put the man to sleep. From his rib, he created a woman. And if God created anything greater than a woman, he kept it to himself. So from rest, God, you always said the couch is your friend. See, when I rest, when I rest, not from prayer and fasting, which is fine, but when I rest, I get my greatest sermons. When I rest, I ain't got nobody. When I get my rest, I ain't got nobody. When I mentally rest, because I've learned that my mental health is just as important as my body health. Because see, if I'm mentally healthy, I can preach better sermons. If I'm mentally healthy, I can help somebody. If I'm mentally healthy, and so you can't give it because you don't have the will, but you have no rest, because all you so juvenile preaching that these same things, these little Mickey Mouse sermons you preach, because you're not rested. You want people to, and you just want to show up and show out and get your preach on and get sweating and all that kind of stuff. But if you mentally rested, you can inspire somebody, and they can have some mental growth and understand it's all right to rest. A sabbatical is consecrated rest. It's just not rest. It is consecrated rest by God. And what would anybody else teach on resting? When would everybody say, you know what, if you don't take this Sunday off and rest if you have to? They might work 6 days a week, but you're not going to say that, Pastor, because you want them to put that money in the coffers. That's right. Because that's all you care about. And so since I'm asking you is how do you, I know as a therapist you do, how do we help me as a more, how can I train my people better on understanding the important, hope the listener is understanding the importance of backing up what I'm trying to say, not about me, but because I know you use couch as your friend. Why is mental rest so important? Just like mental exercise and mental fitness, I should say, it's just as important as physical fitness.
Because your brain is always going, even when you are sleeping or when you are in a state of being still, the brain is still going. That's why people say they have racing thoughts or they're overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
I live in my head and I can't sleep because of this. But if you honestly get still, relax, stretch out, everything will slow down.
Watch out.
Mm-hmm.
Everything will slow down. Your brain controls everything. Like I said, the brain is the only organ that cannot be transplanted and replaced. Okay? You can have anything you want on your body cut out, removed, replaced, perked up, sewed up, whatever. But you cannot replace your brain, period. So your brain deserves and requires rest. Period. I don't care what anybody says. If you do not take care of your mental self, I will meet you at the psychiatric hospital and be your new best friend because that is where you're going to end up. There is no disputing that your body will shut you down, your brain will shut you down. Once you are brain dead, you are dead. I don't know how clear that could be to anybody. So anybody who was operating in 2019 who doesn't sleep late, take a day off, go to the spa, do something deserving of themselves, something is wrong with you. You're not making me like you anymore because you work 70 hours a week. I work at two different hospitals and have a private practice, and I would never work 70 hours a week. I'm not set up like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what? Who is there proving a point to? Nobody. Nobody cares about that. That's not proving a point to anybody because when I'm totally gone out of my brain, I can't be a therapist.
Wow.
I can't be a mother. I can't be anything once my brain is gone. So I'm not going to try to prove to you how strong of a person I am, how God has delivered me and made me able to sustain all these mountains and all this. No, I'm sleeping late. No, I'm not coming. Yeah, I'm laying on the couch until the next person shows up for their appointment because I don't have a point to prove. I'm going to take care of myself. And anybody who thinks they're earning points in heaven by abusing themselves, you're sadly mistaken.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Sadly mistaken.
You got something else, John? You want to ask? I got something else on my
So, well, I want there's one last thing I wanted to touch on, and it actually has to do with your shirt. So,
hey, John.
Yeah. I don't have mine, but I got this one.
Oh, yes. Thug life.
I'll bring you one. I get you one.
Okay. You know what? We're gonna message up after this because I need one of them shirts. So
yes.
But no, I'd like you to talk about that, and maybe so I've seen it a couple of times, and even from the therapist perspective or the pastor perspective, I think there's a lot of truth in that. Can you maybe just kind of talk about that to maybe some of our guests who don't get to see all your stuff on Facebook. I've already seen a couple people. You're probably gonna get some friend requests tonight, so they know what that means.
Like any regular person, because I too am a regular person, and sometimes people do think that therapists don't have issues or don't have concerns. I do have a life, and I have lived a life, but God most definitely has blessed me in so many aspects. He's always teaching me, like I said, dealing with me, talking to me. So my thinking had to change in order for me to become the woman of God that he needed me to be. Okay. And so that's where I came up with that concept, totally humbled under God, because he is the only person who can really humble you and you really understand it and accept it as insight and as teaching and appreciate it.
Mhm.
So I know it confuses people and it makes people, standoffish as to how are you a therapist? How are you a woman of God? Walking around with some shirts talking about hashtag thug. But God has humbled me. He
Right.
has taught me many things and he has shown me many things. And, he has elevated me. And I know that there's so much more that he is going to do for me. So I am totally, absolutely humble under God. And everyone should be. That's just the reality of it. Like I said, if you don't understand that concept, then you just don't know him.
That's right. That's right.
So, and if
Yeah.
you want a shirt, John, we gotta click up. All three of us gotta
Yeah.
have our shirts on.
No, we gotta do that. No, so yeah, and so this one, shout out to Deaconess Monica for turning me on to God is Dope.
Yes,
Of
I
course,
like those shirts.
she showed up with a neon one, so now I gotta go get a neon one. Y'all got thug shirts, so now I need a thug shirt.
Yes,
I
get out.
I love shirts. I love doing different shirts and being funny and having a good time. But I what I like about that is I think this is a core concept of Christianity, right? You are taking something that people look at as derelict or inappropriate or wrong.
Right. Yes.
And you are taking it and you are transforming it, making something new out of that. And does Jesus not do that to us? I think that to me, so I love that. I love the concept of thug life, right? So living a life totally humbled under God. You're taking something that the world has declared derelict and worthless, and you're turning it into something amazing, right? And that, to me, I think that's what Jesus does to us as persons.
That's what he does. That's absolute, and that's the whole concept. It's not this bad thing. I mean, anytime your thinking needs to change, should change, and he does that for you, you are obligated to tell other people about the journey, about the process. That's therapy, that's counseling, that's pastoring, that's whatever, that's teaching, that's insight. Because people need to understand that where you came from is not where you need to remain. And that's my story. That's just the reality of it. I had to change my thinking in order for God to step in and give me opportunities like this. I'm just a little girl from North Memphis, the hood, who went to school and who has been presented with some great opportunities. And this is only the beginning of what is in store for me. So how can I not be humble? How can I not acknowledge him? How can I not share what I know he has done and what he's about to do? And so that's why when people say that counseling and therapy and serving God don't mix, man, it makes me cringe. Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's kind of like we were talking before this when I've had people ask me, how can you be a licensed therapist and a pastor? And my answer always is, how could I not be? I mean, the majority of pastoral work is working with people where they're struggling, and then knowing in yourself when your limits are reached, and having the courage and the responsibility to be able to know who to reach out to. So I think that's very important. Like I said earlier, if pastor, if you don't have community outreach around you and you don't know where to send people to get help, you need to get into your community. Your community needs you to be engaged, and your church community needs you to have those resources. So,
we talking about people counseling, and I always look at Jesus, and he was on the cross. He said it's finished, and he had done his work. But I read somewhere that he rose 3 days later. And after he rose, he had a counseling session with Peter.
Yeah, he did.
He had to restore somebody who had just to his face betrayed him
3 times.
He had to restore him. He constantly said, "If you love me," 3 times he did, because he was restoring him back, rehabilitating. Oh, that word too, Pat. Rehabilitating him to go back to do the work that he needed to do, because he knew where his mind was at. He knew that he was traumatized. Oh, because he had let God down. And God said, "It's okay. You made a mistake, but I'm restoring you back to the Father." He made it clear. If you really break it down, he told the women who many of y'all say can't preach, and you're traumatizing women every Sunday. Every Sunday that women going to church, they get traumatized, you sexist preachers and you sexist denomination, because they can't step in the pulpit and y'all don't like this kind of preacher. I am not the one. And you sit up there and say you're a house of God, and yet you traumatizing women every Sunday with your patriarchal male, just like John said earlier, male dominant society, because they're not called to sit up here with you. They're not called to stand behind your pulpit. If you're a woman, why would you allow somebody to take a bit by talking that letter? People say it doesn't matter. It does matter. Don't never allow your trauma to be normalized. I'll say it again. Never allow your trauma. If you got if God has, Peter can stand with any of them and say to any of them, he said, yeah, James, John, y'all was there too. Yes, I denied Jesus before it says, but he rehabilitated me. He said, we told the women, go tell my disciples, John, and he particularly say, and Peter to meet me in Galilee. Just as I said, he particularly called Peter's name on purpose, so because he knew where Peter was mentally, and so God restored Peter. So why would Peter then come back and say that? Well, I can't be a disciple. I can't do it because I let him down. No, women, you get traumatized every Sunday when you allow this, and then you allow the traumatizers to traumatize you. What are you doing? Stand up. If you're called of God, you're called of God anywhere. Yes. Quit being we need to grow up and say, and quit having these cliches like that, and walk in what God calls us to walk. And yes. I want to close with this. Here's what I tell anybody: pastor, leader, mother, father, anybody responsibility. Our response and how we react and deal with people who are vulnerable reveals who you are.
Yes.
I don't care how good you can preach. I don't care how good you anointed you are. I don't care what you call yourself. How you deal with the least of these, the vulnerable people in society, reveals who you are. And you know what? You can fool John, you can fool Aaron, you can fool Chantelle, but God sees you. God's going to hold you accountable. One day death is going to visit you. You're going to die. I'm going to die. You're going to die. And you're going to give an account. But how you treat the vulnerable, you want to hold, you want to protect these predators, do so at your own risk. But God, they might not can't walk away from, they might not get away, but God's going to hold you accountable, preacher, church, and these denominations. And I tell you that I hope I got a front row seat when God, not when I deal with you, when God deals with you, because how you deal with the vulnerable is who you really are. If all you got is a prayer for somebody who's going through drama, you are not fit for duty. If all you got is a word and come for somebody who's been traumatized, you're not fit for this duty. You've called yourself, you've consecrated yourself, and you just set yourself up there. And so that's what how I will lead this. And that's why I wanted you, because I know you deal with the vulnerable every day. I know right now that I don't know it all. Now, it's back to my point, but I know what vulnerability looks like.
Right.
I don't need no training on that. I'm sorry. I'm not buying the argument. What need to be trained? No, I know what hurt looks like.
Yes.
I know what pain, and that's why I say I never say I know what you're going through, because similar don't mean the same. I don't know, but I know what it looks like. Because why? Because I'm a human being.
Right.
And so therefore, it's my responsibility to do whatever it can to get help. And if you don't do that, if I ever knew that about you, I would never listen to you, hear you, because I don't care how good you can preach. I don't care who you are. And some of you preachers that's been hurt too, you need some therapy too. You need to be calling her right now and say, you know what, I need some therapy.
Yes.
Grown folks show tonight.
That's right.
It's okay to get therapy. It is okay to get help. It is okay to get better. It is okay to address your issues, your underlying issues, the issues that you feel like are not issues. Your behavior is not healthy. Your presentation is not healthy. You need to speak with someone to help you with that. That's just the reality of it. Everybody needs help. I mean, he was the wonderful counselor. So
Yeah.
how can you not go
Wow.
and see a counselor? I had to put that part in.
Yes.
How
Mm.
can you say that a counselor is of the devil, satanic, going to brainwash you when he was the first wonderful counselor, and
Mhm.
Mhm.
he also had people to advise him and to talk to and to bounce ideas off of. That is therapy. So there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. And people need to just remove that ignorant thinking. And you need to stop telling your congregation that if they seek
Mhm.
outside help, that something is wrong with them. That is not true.
Yeah.
And so tell us about your practice. Tell people how they
Yes.
can get in touch with you and reach out to you and for whatever help they may need.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the comments, but there's at least 2 people that are like, "Is she local? Where's she at?"
Mhm.
Please tell us how people can get a hold of you. What can we do?
Okay, so I'm on all forms of social media up under my real name, Chantelle Stokes, Chantelle Stokes. I do have a website, which is www.cdscounseling.com. I am located here in Memphis, but I do, of course, video sessions and phone sessions. I do have clients out of state, which I do provide that service too. So if you are interested in talking to me, meeting me, or just asking me any questions, please feel free to do so. It is my God given purpose to help people. If I wasn't going to be a therapist, then I was originally going to be a veterinarian. So
Okay.
I was going to be in the helping field some type of way. My background is actually I have a master's in human services, family counseling, and marriage therapy. Like I said, I've worked everywhere from Head Start to the jails, psychiatric hospitals, the trauma hospitals, juveniles, homelessness, veterans. I've done so many things here locally in the city that, I just have to say he's preparing me for something on a higher level, and I'm
Mhm.
ready for it. So if you have any questions, then please feel free to get at me. It is strictly confidential.
Amen.
I do not discuss people. I did have a very close friend of mine contact me one day jokingly and was like, I did not know that you know so and so, so and so. And I was like, you were not supposed to. And he kind of laughed, like, oh, yeah, right. So
Mhm.
that's just the reality of it. I am
Mhm.
not allowed, I'm legally obligated to, keep things in confidence unless you are threatening to hurt yourself or someone else. Whatever you tell me will simply be typed up, filed away, and locked up. So
Mhm. Yeah.
that's just it is. But yeah, Chantelle Stokes on all social media platforms. And if anybody wants to contact me, please don't be afraid to do so.
Awesome.
Amen.
Awesome.
And she will be in Texas in
Oh
October.
yeah, that's
She
right.
is part of EC
That's right.
Global under the Very Eminent Bishop Irisborough Bay. She will be
Yes.
one of the main speakers at the conference in Houston, Texas, October 17th, 18th, and 19th. So we're looking forward to me and John looking forward to meeting her in
Mhm.
person.
Yes.
And we will do I know we'll do another segment live together on Bishop's Brother during the conference
Mhm.
during that time. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's going to be an exciting time. So
Mhm.
it's not good. And you will be we have a regular spot. We'll bring you every few months. We will bring you back on because this is stuff we have to continue to talk about all the time and make people aware of this. So it's just been an
Yes.
awesome time today. And we're
All
so
right.
thankful for your
My
time.
pleasure. My pleasure. The couch is your friend. Get on the couch.
Get
Stay
on the
on the
couch.
And that thug life is real good. And
And
this is we do it. It's thug life is real good. I'm one of mine to say thug because I want people to ask me what that means because I know
Yes. Get
I know they're gonna be like, what does that mean? Just ask me. Yeah. So
yeah.
yes. Get
yeah.
that thug life tatted on your chest.
Yes. 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 Oh.
They get some white walls one, so yeah, we could be
Yeah.
thugging, we could be wearing the church with us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and it's been another episode of Bishop, one of our best. We thank God for this. It's been some fire tonight, and we hope you've been blessed, and you'll John will have he will have a watch party tomorrow on his page, and I'll do it again tomorrow night. And also I'll be sharing this. I'll be sharing this again YouTube on YouTube. I'll send you a copy so we can share this, get it out to people who need help. Give it out to people who you may not think need help. People need to believe in the church again. They can believe in it as they see, you know what, there's people who stand up for the church. So we're so thankful. So all right, we'll sign off and then we'll be seeing you next Tuesday.
All right, guys. Thank you. Right. Be blessed. Oh my God, Daria, you be so
Without you, I fade out. Without strength, without love, I lose this, I lose sight. Without you, without life, what would I do without you? What would I do without you? What would I be without you?